Well, you've got to have something that's different. It's important that you're offering something in the marketplace which is different from what other people are offering. So the more different you are, the more disruptive you are, the more likely you're to be successful. I mean, if you're going to be a hairdresser and you're doing nothing else than a hairdresser next door, you haven't got much of a chance. If you're a restaurant, same as the restaurant next door, you haven't got much of a chance. That's absolutely crucial. And then, as I said, from that you need to make sure that you've got the financing behind it. Because however long, if you plan it will work in a year, it'll take 2 years. If it'll cost you 10,000, it'll take you 20,000. So you always have to double the time and double the amount of money. Well, because the reason they don't succeed early on is usually because they're undercapitalized and they haven't thought through the reaction of the competition. It's very important to think what the competitors will do when you appear on their space. And many people think, I've got something better, I know that I can succeed, and they've got a self-confidence about it, a self-belief about what they're doing, but they don't think what reaction their competitors are going to do. So when they start looking for clients, obviously they're taking business away from their competitors. So you need to think that through. And you need to have an answer to that, and you need to have the resources to get you through that. No, I mean, if you've got the right idea, go for it. I mean, quite clearly, the problem at the moment is that you're going to find it much more difficult to get money, and it's going to be slower. So as I said, it's going to take you longer. The other thing when starting a business like this at the moment, you've got to be in control of your cash. You've got to make sure that every month you get the figures. You need your net current asset position and you need your management figures. You must have that. So many businesses start up and they think, oh my goodness, I've got the invoicing out and the bills are coming in, I'll get round to doing the figures. I've got somebody who comes, mum, pop, the bank manager, the uncle, come and do the figures. And in 2 or 3 months, if you haven't got your margins right, if your overhead starts slipping, you're out, you're finished. So you must make sure that you get your figures and you're on top of your figures every month to know exactly where the business stands. It's a real discipline, that, and many entrepreneurs fall down because of that. They don't get their figures regularly and on time, and therefore the thing drifts a bit, and once you get on the downward spiral, boom, very difficult to get off the down escalator. The whole history of the company has been a constant stream of innovation so that we're always a step ahead of the competitors. So because they're copying it. Firstly, we were the first one without a bag. Now most people don't have bags. Then the cyclonic one I've told you about. Then balls, nobody else has got balls at the moment. And there will be an iterative process which leads the design from here through to the future. Of course, the bigger you get, and we are the biggest manufacturer of vacuum cleaners in the world, the more difficult it is to maintain completely new innovative ideas. But there are lots more coming out of Dyson, and that's the only way that you can maintain your differential in the market and continue to charge much higher prices. Well, because it's got people like me who are very good at that sort of thing. And the fact was that we have been able, because we've got very good people to work for the company, and different people. That's the other point about James. He doesn't think in boxes, so he doesn't just go to a headhunter and find an obvious candidate. For example, the man he got to run his Japanese business was a former diplomat. So he thinks outside the box in the way he gets people to come into the business who have different skills but can then be trained up in the Dyson way. So we look at markets, we make sure that we have the right products for the markets, and that means designing products for particular markets, which you can then get benefits from, because if you make a product for Japan, for example, which is tiny, you then find it's possible to sell it over here because lots of people have small flats. So it's finding products for markets, it's maintaining an overall global brand, and it goes back to this point about producing quality and innovation at a price, a high price that the people are prepared to pay for, which you can then make sure that you don't only bring in new products, but you can advertise the product, you can market the product. When we looked at the US originally, I tried to persuade James to buy a company there because I said it's too difficult to get into it. You know, it's so enormous, it's so powerful. The guys over there come and swamp us. We won't be able to get into the store groups. And he said, well, why should I buy a company, a competitor, which makes an inferior product? What am I going to do with the inferior product? I'm going to run it alongside my product? Am I going to scrap it and then persuade all the people who've been selling an inferior product with all the baggage that goes around that to sell our product? He said, no, I'm going to do it my way. The point about the US was that it was the biggest market for upright vacuum cleaners in the world. The US market had been innovatively a desert for years, and the only way they got selling things was trying to call them like fighter aeroplanes, you know, sort of Hornet and Fury, and they all had lights on the front. I mean, why housewives should go around thinking they were in a fighter aeroplane, I've no idea. So there was a real chance for James to come in with something that was different, and you know, he got a team together. He went to the Walmarts of this world. Well, actually, Walmart was the last one, but the Best Buys, the Home Depots, the linen and things, Bed Bath and Beyond, Sears, and he said, look, this is different, try it. They tried it. He put a big advertising campaign behind it because we were making a reasonable amount of money. It's my point again about making lots of profit. Whoom, and away it went. So but behind that, of course, there are other things. You've got to get the logistics right. You can't let the stores down. You've got to make sure you don't fall foul of predatory pricing by your competitors. So he had a very good team behind him, mainly Brits, then built up his American team and actually showed that if you have got a product that's like that, you can win with it. So start slowly and make sure you know what you're doing. Realise that exporting is expensive because you're going to have agents to pay, distributors to pay, you're going to have logistics, you're going to have transportation costs. So it's going to cost you. You're going to have marketing costs, your translation costs. So when you do it step at a time and make sure you do it properly. Remember that you only have one chance in overseas markets. If you make a mess of it, doesn't work, you won't be let in again, unless you're very, very exceptional. So all those things you need to do. And once you've done that, and you've got a base, and you're starting to do it effectively and efficiently, and you've got the people both back here at home and over there who can organise it, then you can start to expand it. You need people that you can talk to. You need somebody who's outside it, who can take you through it, whether it's your accountant, whether it's somebody like me, or whoever. There are lots of people out there who've had successful business careers who are only too happy to help, you know, the younger ones come on. But you must go and get people to ask you the really difficult questions, right? Not the easy ones, not, oh yeah, I think that's wonderful, good luck, you know, here's 50 quid. You've got to have people say, well, hang on a minute, have you thought about this? Have you thought what the competitor will do? What is your route to market? You know, what is your margin? Now, how much is it going to cost you to market it? All these things, it needs to be ruthlessly debated and analysed. And that's the first thing anybody should do with a good idea. Exactly that, encouraging it. Making sure that you have a tax regime which is as supportive and helpful. Making sure you've got the right incentives in place, and in market failure, where, you know, for example, businesses demand massively over the last 10, 20 years. So going back to exporting, you know, you don't have people sitting around in offices waiting to be told to go to Venezuela or Latin America or Eastern Europe. So where there is a market failure, then government has a role to play, and that's where things like Smarter should be of great interest to the Tory party, because it's exactly what the Tory government would want. You know, it's small, it's efficient, it's giving advice to people, it's not on the taxpayer's pocket, it's not employing lots of public servants, but it's creating a real service which business and particularly entrepreneurial small business can make use of. So those are the sorts of initiatives the government should be supporting, the Tory party particularly.